The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another episode of Frankly Speaking. I'm your host today, of course, Frank Saberek, and we have, to quote the great TV game show host Steve Harvey, we got another good one for you today, folks. Yeah, he always says that.
I love his voice.
Yeah. So anyway, if you follow this show like religiously, well, the last candidate I had last week or the week before was from the Republican congressional candidate running in the 2nd District of New Hampshire, otherwise known as NH-2. And now we have yet another one, probably the latest one to enter the race. And finally, in the Republican race, they finally have a female candidate in the bunch. So I don't know if it's going to end up, I don't know how long they can pull nomination papers to run for office, but we'll at least have one female in the Republican race as of right now to run against, with the hopes of running against the Democrat incumbent Annie Kuster. We'll probably talk about her a little later. So anywho, my guest today is also a candidate, Lily Tang Williams, immigrated to the United States from China about 35 years ago or so, and she's been in an election before in the state of Colorado. We'll probably get into that a little bit. And so Lily, first of all, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. You know, it's been busy, but hey, beautiful day to drive down here.
That's true.
From Weare.
That's true. No snow, no freezing rain.
Oh,
so that's like always a good sign.
That's pretty good, yeah.
And anyway, I've got about a dozen questions for you or so. But before we get into that, the nuts and bolts of my questions and the election and stuff, why don't you tell my TV audience a little bit about yourself and why exactly do you want to be the congressperson, the congresswoman representing the 2nd Congressional District of New Hampshire?
Well, as you mentioned, I'm a Chinese immigrant. Okay. I was born 2 years before Mao's great so-called proletarian cultural revolution. I bet you know that. Yeah. And but I had no idea. I was born into communism. I was born to illiterate working parents. My parents worked for state factories 6 days a week. And then they were on food rationing coupons based on our family size. So family of 5. And so we get government coupons for meat and rice and eggs and sugar and even fabric, so everything. So my memory of childhood basically just hungry and the stomach growling. And we are next to this school. I remember we lived in this community housing for 15 years. So that's how I grew up. And every day, 6:30 in the morning, loudspeaker come on, time to go to work, time to go to school. Then the news, red songs, it's like a concentration camp because you cannot sleep in. And you got to get up and go to work. Everybody have to work. As a mother, during Mao's Cultural Revolution, there's no way you can choose to say, I want to stay home with my babies. No, everybody got a guaranteed work, but you have to go to work. So we have 8 families. I remember staying in this community housing provided by my dad's state factory. 8 families with children share one water faucet one bathroom. And of course, it's a big hole on the ground divided to half for man, half for woman. You can actually talk to each other because down there is the open air and it's stinky, and the winter months, the parents will come to dig it out to take to the farm field. And so you have room to continue use that bathroom. And that was just my absolute nightmare to go to that bathroom because at night, there's a little night bulb and you can fall backwards and get buried. And so we finally got a little party at the apartment. So you can just do at night and dump next day or something. So that's the environment we grew up with, you know.
Incredible, incredible. So one of your main credos in your campaign, at least like on your website and stuff like that, is the credo or something to the effect that one of the main reasons you're running is that you're afraid that the country you love is becoming like the one you left.
Well, to finish my story, so
okay.
I went through entire indoctrination and the poverty under Mao's Cultural Revolution. I have seen with my own eyes those public square and struggle sessions. My memory started actually in my grandma's backyard, in my grandma's courtyard, when she babysitted me. At the peak of Cultural Revolution, military trucks carrying black class people, which is enemies of the people, with the soldiers, look very pale, with red guards behind them singing red songs, eliminate your political enemies, carry those people to the public execution field. And I saw that with my own eyes and hear those songs, like I was told that they were going to be executed. And this execution field was not too far away from us. And the people could hear gunshots. And some kids will go pick up bullets because they're made from metal. You can maybe pick them up and go sell for money. And I was so scared. It's like, oh, look, those people look horrible. They look very pale. Their head was down. And but I did not know. I was too young to know Cultural Revolution. I just know my 3 uncles had to be sent to countryside after like a few years, no school. And the Mao sent them to countryside to the Red Guards. Red Guards go to countryside, re-educated by peasants. So, and it was just the chaos. And I saw one guy jump into well, our community well, at my grandma's courtyard. Like several courtyard people use one water well, it's like 20 feet deep, like a opening about this big. And then one day I was a child, said everybody was going, said, come see. It was dead body floating on the top of water. And I could not comprehend it. I was so scared. I saw it with my own eyes. He was naked and floating on the top. I just swept the memory under the rock. And years later, I found out he committed suicide. Black family member who could not handle the, struggle session anymore, because you have to go to public square, apologize, get public shame, and denounce yourself, and confess. And if you don't do it the right way, you're gonna beat up by the Red Guards and throw rocks at you. So the whole Cultural Revolution is about this social political chaos, artificial arbitrary division, because Mao categorized who are the black classes, right? Landowners, bad influencers, whitest, like those are arbitrary, terms. Who define those terms? So anybody who is not united with the party with Mao, then you can be black class. Sometimes it's in party. Inside of his own party, he wants to purge his political enemies. After Mao's central economic policies caused the mass famine from 1958 to 1961, estimated 40 million people, Chinese, died of starvation. So he lost some power. We had another president called Liu Shaoqi become the president and trying to reboot China's economy. And Mao was marginalized a little bit. He did not like that. So he wanted to start something outside the party, outside of Beijing, to gain his power back and to throw those political enemies, under the bus. And he used innocent, naive young people, urban youth called Red Guards. They started from college campuses, and then Mao shut down all these schools to say, let's all do class struggles every day. Oh, it's like my uncle, 3 uncles went to countryside after being used up as raid guards for 10 years. And so I was lucky enough, I'm not like my uncle's generation, I'm like about 8 years younger. So I got to go to school at the age of 7 in public school. Of course, it's all government schools. And I still had to go through all the rituals, chanting with red mouse little book, and to say thank you party, thank you Mao, and become the like a red scarf girl, which is called a young pioneer. For Mao, it's students, grassroots elementary students organization for us. It's such a privilege to be member. That means you're a red child. You're not black. So black classes are under oppressor groups, and the red classes are under oppressed group. So those terms are very familiar to me. It's oppressor versus oppressed. So we chanting, and so I was so brainwashed. I did not know any truth. And so when you do that for five straight years and 4 times in government schools, I was totally indoctrinated. The only time I started to ask a question is when he died. And when he died, I was 12. But I could not even ask question publicly because I self-censor. It was such a political environment. Every day is about politics, party control everything. You have to be totally loyal. Otherwise, your family can't even report you. I learned my lesson at 7 because I thought I was a good red child, top student, and I would be the first one to wear red scarf, become the red scarf girl. And my girlfriend told on me, said that, oh, she bragged about her good grades, and just so that's not politically correct. So I got a call into teacher's office to say, we're not going to let you to join the Young Pioneer with a red scarf because you were too confident. You were too expressive. You were not humble. You should be like other kids. So at the age of 7, I learned how to self-censor, how to comply, be politically correct. So it's talking about cancel culture today. I experienced all that as a child. So, but nevertheless, I wanted to be competitive. I wanted to become a red guard, and I went through all that process. And even though we're very poor, but I was very brainwashed to believe whatever they told me until Mao died. I started asking questions. What happened? Who lied to me? Oh, he died. He's not God. He's a human. He died. He's immortal. So when he died, I was totally lost. I did not have smile for probably a couple of years. And, I was born to be a happy child. I just remember they said, don't even smile like ugly Americans. And so everything is about politics. So if I do smile, I will say, oh, because my mom's talking to me from sky, behind the clouds. I saw his smile in the fire. So, it's like, because I was born just very happy child, but I have to make excuse for me to smile. Talk about total oppression. So when I decided, okay, I need to search for truth, and the university reopened 1977. So I said, now I can go to college and search for truth, right? So then I went to college and studied law. I want to build a new society, rule of law. But I got depressed again. They told me law is not for justice. Law is a tool for the party to use to govern the mass. Well, we're just one of the mass. The masses. And so I become a rebellious teenager. I met a foreign student and who told me about America, Declaration of Independence, individual rights and liberty. My light bulbs come on, they will not turn off. So I decided when I someday have to leave China, I want to come to the United States. He put the U.S. into my mind. And then that day came. As soon as I graduated from college, as a law school graduate, become a faculty member in Shanghai. First year, I become very depressed again. You have to be PC. You have to join the party to show your loyalty. You cannot have personal freedom to choose even what I want to do in my free time. I was told by my Communist Party boss, there are 2 bosses. All faculty departments have 2 bosses, one academic, one is party, Communist Party. So party boss would tell me, don't go to dancing parties, it's not PC. You are faculty now. You got to draw the line with students. I used to be very happy, very, very rebellious student. As soon as I become a faculty member, they're going to tell me, you don't have a personal freedom in your personal free time to decide what you want to do. I was just totally like, I don't think I can be happy in this country. I need to figure out a way to live. And the only country I wanted to come is America, because my light bulb turned on. This is a country guaranteed by a constitution. You have a Bill of Rights, and you have natural rights given to you by God, by your creator, not by your government. I just thought this is such a cool country. I need to come here to be happy, to be free. So I finally come to this country in 1988. So it's like, about 33 years ago.
Yeah.
And almost 34 now this May.
Wow.
And up to that moment, and that was the happiest day of my life. I arrived Austin, Texas. Yeah, I was so happy, but could not speak English well, and in debt to my sponsor, and borrowed $100. That's my story. So I started in this country negative in debt.
Unbelievable. So, explain to me, like Taiwan, there's a lot of banter going about that the communist Chinese want to take over Taiwan when it's safe to do so. I guess supposedly they're waiting to see if Russia's going to attack Ukraine. I don't know what that has to do with anything. Well, America would put their attention on Ukraine, and America's not going to pay attention to what China's doing with Taiwan.
Yeah, it's propaganda every day in China. Since I was little, we were told Taiwan is a part of China, part of motherland. Liberate Taiwan. I heard that propaganda all my life in China. But later, when China under Deng Xiaoping had the economic reform, actually, that's good thing happened, and they started to trade with Taiwan. Taiwanese people can fly to Hong Kong. When I work in Hong Kong, I work with Taiwanese managers, and in our trading company. And it's kind of funny. They cannot fly to China directly, but they all fly to Hong Kong, then go to China to work. It's very funny. But so I got a chance to know Taiwanese people will speak Mandarin, and everybody was happy. Okay, maybe finally we can all just do trade, do business, and start to travel with each other, have families to visit, open up tourism. And I was there in the 90s, working in Hong Kong from 1990 and I think 6 to 98, when Hong Kong went back to China in 1997. So I witnessed all that. I worked with Taiwanese managers. So emotionally, and all Chinese people, lots of them on mainland, they feel very patriotic to liberate Taiwan, because that's what propaganda says every day. Remember, Communist Party controls everything: press, periodicals, schools, media, and all TVs, everything. So you don't know the truth. They don't have a free internet. If you want to access to the truth, you have to secretively to pay this service, VPN, to break the firewall to access internet. So lots of people just bought into all the propaganda. We need to liberate Taiwan, and now they're bashing America every day now, and blame America even for COVID. It's just so I don't know what's going to happen. I think China's economy is weak, and they like to talk the tough and look, Olympics show the world how glorious China is. But hey, other people are not even allowed to come out of their home. They're in serious long lockdowns.
So if you were, hypothetically speaking, I know you're not a congresswoman yet, but if you were a congresswoman, do you think you would have pushed to boycott, what they call have America boycott the Olympics? And
I will urge that. I will urge that, and I will urge also the big corporations and to be aware the human rights abuses, and if they care about human rights at all. And then I know let's ask them to, put the human rights above profit. But it looks like it's the opposite. China, because the economic reforms adopted some free market capitalism system, And China is a large market. It's the second largest economy. And but the thing is, so how much does that really benefit the regular people? And what is their life like is today? Are they committed cultural genocide or not? I mean, all those need to be, investigated and call them out. And so, but we I mean, right now, the big corporations who are sponsors for Olympics and the reporters are told you can only show this, you cannot go anywhere else to show regular Chinese people's lives. It's a propaganda. I call that propaganda show. So I'm not watching any of that.
So the guy who instead of using a guy like Yao Ming, when you say China to me, well, he played in the Houston Rockets for like 10 years. I don't think he won a championship, but I mean the guy was like 7'6" or something like that. A huge Chinese guy, Yao Ming. I don't know if you saw. Okay, you know.
Him, yeah.
But why not have him light the Olympic torch? Instead, they had a member of the Uyghur concentration camp.
It's propaganda, Oh, you're accusing us doing cultural genocide. We're going to show you we have our Uyghurs, doing this. And that's a typical strategy for them. I have, I'm used to it. I'm not surprised. It's like they want to, it's like counter-strike that the international human rights organizations and, the free world pressure to say, according to the satellite images, there's a concentration camp. And we have Uyghurs campaign in this country, and they all have heartbroken personal stories to tell you. Their families are missing, and I read a lot about what happened to them. I saw videos of them. It's like a cultural revolution right now happening in Xinjiang. Like red flags everywhere. Everybody's being censored. You got the public speakers and the facial recognition cameras. And if you talk to foreigner, like if you have foreign relative, if they're on the phone with you, then you will have a soldier or some kind of, CCP people are listening to you. So you cannot say whatever you said, and they also take your phone to say, we're going to, listen to it. It's people, I don't know why Western free world will not stand up for them because, they just, okay, we just roll our guy. We just we don't care. We just want the market share.
They were advising, I don't know if it was somebody from Congress or somebody. I know the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi made a special saying, be careful about, saying about human rights violations in China because the Chinese are ruthless. But another politician was saying that, was advising the athletes, if you're going to use a cell phone or a laptop, use a burner cell phone or laptop so that if the Chinese take your cell phone away from you, they can't trace the call.
Right. Well, at least the people through Olympics now to see some truth about China. It's not safe. They track their citizens through their cell phone and through vaccine passport 24/7. So if you go to China, when they test you, when they ask you to download their, let's say, Olympics app on your phone, and they're tracking you. So it's not safe. You don't want to take your own cell phone there. And I even don't know, there's some rumors to say they're testing. When they test you, they swap you, they're collecting your DNA data too. You don't own your data. And look how they treated the reporters. I mean, also how they treated the athletes.
The guy from Netherlands or Holland, or the Dutch reporter?
Just take them away. Oh, because the background is not pretty enough to make China look glorious. It's all about the show, and people got to realize that. And it's so important for them. It's a money-losing business to hold the Winter Olympics. But the CCP, they don't care. And lots of Chinese cannot even have a very good a life and food. And, in rural China, you still got about 50% people are in rural China. But then they want to only show you the top tier cities with good life. Everybody is beneficiary for this, second largest economy. But I know what they're capable of. So I would urge reporters and the athletes will not go there. But they're saying so through all those bad experience, and some athletes were quarantined for 18 days. And when they later land coach to complain about the human rights, And the Global Times, which is on Twitter, official CCP Twitter account, yeah, Twitter allowed Global Times there, and to say human rights is a privilege. This is what we agree to. You were quarantined, and their food is not enough. The quarantine room is small. It's not very, very clean. So you cannot even complain. And think about how Chinese suffer that. I mean, they treat the foreigners like that. Think about regular Chinese. They're voiceless people. They cannot complain. They're blocked. If you complain on any kind of Chinese app, you get taken down.
If you were a congresswoman right now, okay, let's say at the beginning of this COVID-19 controversy, would you have pushed the American authorities or whatever, the medical, what do they call it, HWO authorities, whoever runs the medical worldwide, to investigate the Wuhan lab?
Well, WHO is pro-China. They did go to China, and they went to Wuhan. They were showing the things they were allowed to see. It's another propaganda show. And remember that China covered up COVID for about 6 weeks, and WHO helped them to say it's not human to human in January even. And then when China shut down Wuhan, it's like 30 million people right before Chinese New Year. There were about 5 million people already left Wuhan to go all over China, to travel, to go abroad. That's why Spain Italy got hit so bad, because they were the partners with Chinese government, so like a Belt and Road Initiative. So lots of Chinese, lots of traveling back and forth. And of course, we should investigate. We should hold China accountable for the origin of COVID. We need to find out who actually was the patient zero. What happened to those doctors who trying to speak the truth? One died, and should China be held accountable on academic damages caused the Western world? We need to have those conversations. But when I tried to bring that up on social media in the past, I was warned. I was spreading misinformation. Oh, that tells you something, right?
Yeah. Now, you've known China in your first 24 years while you were physically living there. You know people who were starving to death in China, and they would eat like rats. Would they also eat like bats and pangolins?
I don't know about because I even don't know where. I don't know about countryside, because I lived in Chengdu, which is capital of the Sichuan province. We did not even have those access to those wild animals. So only thing we saw is a couple of rats running around in my grandma's courtyard, and my uncle and I were really hungry. So he will get me involved and set up a trap to trap rat, and then chewing on it's not that much meat, but chewing on the bones, and because we're hungry. And I know during that time there were no birds. Like all the fishermen will shoot birds and eat the bird's meat.
Yeah.
And we had one dog in our community courtyard, and it was not legal. So the cops come in to say, kill the dog, and or we will come to take your dog away. So the neighbor had to put the dog down, and then cook the dog, because everybody was starving. And give to people who want to eat it. It was like that's why later I come to America. My first pet, was a dog. It's like I couldn't even have a dog. It was so sad for all the kids involved. They're all crying, like, hey, what can you do? They're gonna kill the dog anyway, and probably eat it. So that's kind of life we had. When communists always, or even socialists always promise you free stuff. That's what the Mao promised to all the peasants too. You will have free stuff, you will have land, and none of those came. Everything's free now, except our community yard by my dad's state factory. We had to pay childcare. We had to pay for schools. My parents were in debt all their lives because they were in literally working class. They get paid very little money. They had to borrow money for our tuitions, for everything. And so after I came to the United States, I saved money every month from my RA, research citizenship every month, and I'm the one who help my parents to pay off all their debts. First time in their life.
So another, well, even before COVID-19, one of the complaints that like Americans had against the communist Chinese was something called a trade infringement or copyright infringement. I guess they took like technology, like computers, TV sets and stuff like that, and they were copying their patterns and stuff like that.
when I went to China, I went to some of those fake products market. They were huge. Before you even watched Harry Potter, and they had the Harry Potter, on their DVD and selling them in the market. So as a part of the agreement with World Trade Organization, got a crackdown on the those kind of violations of copyrights and intellectual property. So they shut down all those openly violation places. They just went to the underground. So they're still in the black market. You can buy fake products, and I think you can buy a Rolex watch for $20. and for big corporations who want to access China market, and the CCP, the Chinese government, will pressure you to sign agreement to, basically give away your know-how, your intellectual property, or they don't want to do business with you. They will not offer you deals to access, because all the big foreign companies go to China need state licenses. So they pick and choose. That's why not so big corporations have to comply to their requirement and curtail, like keep their head down, don't call out their human rights abuses, because they can just say, hey, we're not going to do business with you anymore. And you see, NBA, Hollywood movies, the stars apologize, and it just, that's the way it is. And so the intellectual infringement is still underground. And I think WTO should hold China accountable, should make them to comply the rules and apply to other countries. But China is like, oh, just open one eye, close one eye. They did not fulfill their promises to open up certain industries. And then there are pressure foreign companies to give up their intellectual property. It's almost like a one-way direction. Everybody just comply, think China will get better. They had a kind of fantasy about China, because they trade opening up, China will become maybe democracy. But it never happened. Now China is going backwards by taking actually away more and more private enterprises and more state enterprises.
So I know I watch Fox News quite often, and there's a guy who advertises the CEO of MyPillow, a guy named Mike Lindell. Mm-hmm. And one of the things he mentioned about all the things he had to overcome in the past couple of years was trademark infringement from China. I guess somebody took his comfortable pillows and took the trademark and figured out what he makes them out of. Mm-hmm. And China copied that.
Well, they know how to steal, and there are lots of economic espionage cases in the U.S. now. And remember, Confucius Institute infiltrated into our schools, into our colleges. Lots of Chinese students, scholars, you don't know who they are, went to our university laboratories and worked for some, like our like aerospace companies, and so they steal the technology. And I think we have been so naive in this country for past probably 15, 20 years to allow them to come in and basically to take advantage of our free market economy, and then corrupted our politicians and their families doing business with China, and corporations in Silicon Valley who all want to access China market. And that's why after COVID last 2 years, you see the Chinese style totalitarian rise all over the world. That's why when you ask me why I'm running, because I really fear that we're going to lose this country and China is going to be number one, but I don't want to live under their CCP rule. So I feel like America still have fundamentally good systems It doesn't matter. The left side want to destroy it, replace with what? With Marxism, with more cancel culture. I have seen all that before in China. I want to stop it. I call that American Cultural Revolution. I want to stop it.
Yeah. One question before we get into any of these nuts and bolts, I definitely want to ask you. And I noticed your picture, your family portrait on your website. I think you've got a couple on your YouTube pages. It looks like a great, loving family. 2 boys, 1 girl. I guess they're young adults now. A loving husband, obviously. Have any of them come to you and said, that they love you very much, et cetera, but could you please tone down the narrative?
I have Chinese friends telling me that, but my children are raised to appreciate America, appreciate their freedoms, because they heard my stories all the time. Okay, I was tiger mom at home, so I will not allow them to waste food. I will, with my husband's help, we will deprogram our children from the public schools, and they went to in Douglas County in Colorado, and every dinner time, it's a great opportunity for us to get together as family, talk about what did you learn today in school? What did your teacher say to you? And so we have to sometimes to help them to realize what they told you was not true. And here's a real story. And they know I'm the eyewitness of communists. So I said, well, sounds like they're teaching you more and more, socialism, and you don't know the history. So, but our kids as young adults today, they are patriotic American citizens. And
both your sons are military, right?
Well, yeah, one is still in the Space Force, and one is already out as National Guard. He's working for the bank. My daughter is just graduated from college long ago and working full time, and they know mom's goal and mom's dream is to keep American as free as possible, keep American dream alive. So they all supported me. I just told them, just be careful. Mom's going to put myself out there. I have a mission to save my new country.
I noticed.
And you guys be careful. Just protect yourself and have some privacy. But I'm sorry, I have to use your pictures. I have to show people what kind of family I have. I'm so blessed. When you ask me about my family, it's like I just make me to smile. I'm so blessed this country. But they're very supportive. Without them, I cannot do this.
I noticed. Okay, well, let me throw this out there. In California, there's a Congressman, Eric Swalwell, and I guess he's, for some strange reason, they leave him on the House the Foreign Relations Committee, which I think
Committee, yes,
Intelligence Committee. And as you probably heard, if you followed the news, he had a fling with a Chinese spy. She looks like she's like 20-something, named Fang Fang.
Yeah, Fang Fang. We call Fang Fang.
Good-looking lady. But anyway, like these Chinese spies, females, young, attractive females who probably have like sexual relationships with American politicians, there's probably some Chinese spies who would look at something like somebody like you on like YouTube or like government access TV or Fox News and say, Lily is really putting us in a bad light here. What should we do about this? And, maybe hurt you or do something that your parent, your husband or your kids will say, maybe you should cut down on the rhetoric, cut down on the narrative a little bit, lighten up a little bit.
Well, Frank, that it is a hard choice to do this, to put you out there as an anti-communism candidate. But that's exactly why I'm running. I don't want this country to become a socialist communist country. And if we have a relatively free market and good political system, a democracy, citizens are involved, are informed, and they don't want that. the problem is that I have seen the infiltration of those ideologies into society everywhere. Not just our politicians sleep with Chinese spy, but also lots of them, their families have business deals with China, and they don't call out Chinese, and the censorship. So, I have seen enough censorship. I never dreamed I would come to a free country. Sometimes I have to bite my tongue, choose my language correctly on social media in order to communicate with people. And I was warned. Sometimes my posts were taken down. And I'm just reminding those people, when the communists take over, you are just a private company, or so-called a private company, unless you are Xinhua News Agency, you become Xinhua News Agency, which was a private media company, but become a mouthpiece, largest propaganda machine for CCP. So American people got to ask questions. What are they feeding us? Why they don't call out China? Why they think whatever is true today was misinformation? Why our unelected bureaucrats have so much power to pass regulations like making law supposed to be function of the Congress? And why executive branch is just acting like a tyrant now? There are lots of questions need to be answered. I prefer, of course, to enjoy life and keep my head down, keep my Chinese family safe, but can I live with myself in peace, with my conscience? This is my calling. If I don't come out to tell the truth and to wake up people in America, I cannot live with myself. I have to do this.
Amen. I'm saying, I'm watching you here. I've talked to you before and watched a lot of your YouTube videos and said, you're a very brave and courageous lady, but I just hope you don't face bad consequences down the road a little bit. I'm praying for you that, you for your safety and your welfare.
Well, the worst comes, I probably will never be able to go back to China again.
Oh, yeah.
I miss my family. And last time I was there, 2015, I got 3 uncles, 1 aunt, 1 younger brother in China, and the cousins. And I hope China eventually, under international pressure, Chinese people also rise up, will push China to become a little bit more freer, and especially all this COVID stuff, when it settled down, and people all trying to go back to their normal life now. The whole world economy suffered, lots of lives lost. We continue need to hold China accountable. But fundamentally also, Chinese people have to rise up. And the international pressure have to call China out to work together. But for me, that's a personal sacrifice. I cannot go home to see my families. And I'm hoping someday that when I feel like it's safe for me to go home to visit my family and friends, and I will, but I don't know when that will come.
Okay, so if you were a congresswoman right now, would you push or support a push to fire Dr. Anthony Fauci, who's kind of running this COVID thing for the past 2 years for America?
He has flip-flopped so many times. I saw some of those questions that Senator Rand Paul asked him. I think I will join Senator Rand Paul and to say, hey, we need to investigate him and his agency completely. Did you find the gain-of-function research was doomed to be too difficult, too dangerous in this country? How much Wuhan lab got? Did you involve with other research, other labs, and why you lied about it, or did you lie about it? And so there needs to be comprehensive investigation because, he has so much power. People at the beginning treated him almost like a godlike, the doctor. When every word he said, everybody follows. I always had lots of questions myself because I watch Chinese news weekly in Mandarin. So, yeah, but I would call for investigation. I will join Senator Rand Paul and some other Republicans calling for that.
And the southern border, President Biden has been the president now for a little over a year, and he undid everything that Trump did along the southern border. And now we have all these illegal aliens coming in. Among other things, they're not being tested for COVID. And yet we have people in running gyms, restaurants, bars who are being closed down, American citizens being closed down because they're not conforming to mask regulations or something stupid like that. But I think, well, first of all, I think you're going to build the wall up and continue what Trump left off at. And it's just not right that, we have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of illegal aliens from South America that came in. And
because they do not enforce the laws on the books already. They come, if you are illegal coming here, if you get caught, you're supposed to be deported. If you want to apply for political asylum, the Trump work out with Mexico, you stay in Mexico to wait for it. And the funny hypocrisy of this is that Biden said no to Cuban protesters. Don't take that dangerous boat ride, come to the United States, you will not get refugee status. But then pick and choose, let the southern border wide open. People come in without a health screen, without testing, and then there's so many of them who are incentivized to do this. People, it's sometimes heartbroken to watch their conditions, and the human traffickers and drug dealers who is making tons of money by benefits, right? And then you send the information to all the world. If you just go to that southern border, you can sneak in here. So you have actually, national security risk and the drugs coming. But at the same time, when you cross the Canadian border, you have to show papers. You have to be quarantined. That's why you have freedom convoy movement. And the people are so sick and tired of that. And it's just, when Canadians wanted to come in here to spend money on our economy, to support the tourism, you say no, border is closed. But only southern border is open. They make you wonder why. Then taxpayers' money are spent to bus them around, fly them around into different places, sometimes middle of night. And then all of a sudden in New York City, you can also vote as the illegals. People got to ask a question, why are they pick and choosing? And, is that the fundamental, important role of government? I believe the role of government is to protect life, liberty, and property. And the national defense, right? You cannot defend your own border, secure your own border. Then you want to talk up to go secure Ukraine's border. And Russia every day. All of a sudden, all the media go nuts about Russia. How about China?
Amen.
Yes, it's a hypocrisy. It's not consistent. Make you wonder what is the real agenda.
Incredible. Okay, we might get back to that in a little bit. Now, you ran before in 2016 for U.S. Senate in Colorado, and you ran as a Libertarian. Unsuccessful run. Well, then again, I'm not sure. I could be wrong here. I don't think there's a Libertarian that's involved, that's a U.S. rep or a U.S. senator. I think they're all either Democrats or Republicans.
Well, they're libertarian-minded people. I was a foreign student. I was independent for many years. I wanted to learn about the U.S. politics, get to know about my new country. So I actually did my internship in state capitol for a Republican budget committee chair. So I registered Republican. I said that the platform looks good to me, and I like a government to be small and limited. And when I was a Republican, and then under Bush, when Bush did all the expansion of the government programs, Patriot Act, and that's what did it, is bail out the banks with taxpayers' money, billions, maybe even overtraining. I got very upset. I thought, oh, why did he do that? It's not just him, right? It's all the other Republicans supported him. And the local party people was just the party was not very, effective. I got upset, so I left. And the Libertarian Party in Colorado had a very easy ballot access. I can run for any positions I wanted, and then my name will be on the ballot. It would be number 3rd place. So I was recruited to run, and I learned so much. And from that, I knew I could not win as 30-party candidates, but I just wanted to go out, tell my stories, and warn people we don't want to become, the country I left. I've been saying that for years because I recognize all those out of control expansion of the government, and citizens become smaller and smaller and weaker and weaker. And each individual is the smallest minority. You are really powerless when you face a huge machine of the state. So, but then I found out, of course, I got lots of practice and I was kept out of debate. I was kept out of pollings.
That was wrong, yeah.
I know. So I said, well, I wasn't effective if I could not even have my message to be heard. So I actually switched back to the Republican Party later I moved to New Hampshire and reached Republican. And I rebooted the Weare committee at our town level. I got elected as supervisor of checklist, and I co-founded the Aging American Coalition. I'm a chair of the coalition today. And I have been traveling around the country for the past 5 years to educate students about horror of communism. Because I see our kids remind me from my youth, they were so indoctrinated, they don't know the real history. And our government schools are not really public school where you can give input anymore as public. We just fund it. Taxes going up, but we have no control, no say in lots of things. So, and with this cancel culture, with 2020 months long of looting, like rioting and the burning, I feel like this is like a cultural revolution I have seen before. That's why my slogan is that I hate to see the country I love becoming like the country I left. I need to come up now. When your neighbor's house is on fire, you need to come out to warn them, hey, your house is on fire. But this is my new country now. So I have to do my duty as a citizen, to tell the truth.
Oh, I really respect it. Okay, we're going to move on a little bit, and maybe we can get back to that in a while. So if everything works out for you well in this campaign, come, I guess it's the Tuesday after Labor Day weekend in September. It's either the first or second Tuesday in September will be the Republican primary election.
September 13th.
There you go, the 13th. And you win. Let's just say Lily Tang Williams will be the Republican representative, and you're going to go against the great one, Democratic incumbent Ann Custer. From what you know and what you heard about Ann Custer, can you name me like 2 or 3 differences between her and yourself?
I never met her in person, and she's my congresswoman right now. And I promise, no nasty campaigns, be positive, but I can talk about the policy stance and the ideologies difference. I think she votes with Pelosi about 90, maybe 98% of the time. And she still wants to push for BBB, their agenda, Biden's bill. And so I fundamentally disagree with her that the federal government is too big and printing money and getting into national debt. It's wrong. Our money is inflated. When you print lots of money, of course inflation is going up, but it's not corporate grade. It's, do you understand the economics here? And everything goes up. And also that our kids have to pay for it, either through higher taxes or like they continue to print more, then their life will be just so miserable. There'll be no economical growth. And when government wants you to get some government assistance, become a dependent government, to me, it's very dangerous. That's what we were promised, and nothing can. And if you become dependent governments, they also control you 100%. Just take away, decide how much you should eat, what your kids should study, what the vaccine, and you should get a shot. You have no personal freedom to choose because you become dependent government. So I don't like that at all. So I would like to debate her to say, your policy is not American way. Your policy is bad for the voters of City 2, and I can do better. I will always tell the truth. We can always offer other solutions, even private, public, sometimes partnership to solve problems. But we need to have a conversation of solve problems instead of printing more money and give people this, that, and that. it's just rhetoric agenda. People just frankly don't buy that anymore. Because they say consequences, how much you have to pay for gas, how much you have to pay for food. Oh, there's no food on the shelf. Supply chain is in danger because we have become dependent on China. If you don't want to become dependent on a communist country and China, which is, totally right now going backwards, and why do you tell me, oh, I just continue to become dependent on federal government for some stuff, and then, they keep printing money. I'm really worried about this $30 trillion debt. My kids have to pay for it.
Wow. Well, time flies when you're having fun, eh, Lily?
Yes,
My
it is.
producer told me we have, just over 2.5 minutes. Well, one thing I want to interject, during the thing on the graphics, you've probably seen Lily's website, which is lilytangwilliams.com. And I also would advise people watching this to go on YouTube and type in Lily Tang Williams, and you have like at least a couple dozen videos.
Yeah, quite a lot.
Quite a few.
And yes, and I also have Facebook page, Lily for
Facebook
Congress.
and Twitter.
Yeah, and the Twitter is called Lily for Liberty. So I only changed my page to Lily for Congress now, but everything else is the same from my past freedom, like grassroots activist, because I have been trying to tell my stories, become an educator. I have 8 weeks of immigrant stories on my YouTube. Listen to other immigrant stories, even though my voice is just myself, but other people are telling people in this country the same thing. They are terrified. The Chinese immigrants who survived Cultural Revolution like me, they are all terrified to say, I summarized 12 features of Mao's Cultural Revolution, and some are from my friends, It's so similar to today, what's happening. And they will, have this communist revolution in order to destroy America. We cannot buy that, even though they use better name, anti-racism,
critical race theory.
And the 1619, and the DEI, emotional responsiveness, social emotional earning. It doesn't matter. It is like Cultural Revolution I survived. I guarantee you, not on my watch. I'm trying to stop it my best with all your help. So please donate and Lily tangwilliams.com. And this is a grassroots campaign. And I want you to share my messages and tell other people. I have already over 1,000 small donors all over the country. I need more from New Hampshire to show you like my messages. I can serve people here better than Congresswoman and Ancaster. So thank you for having me.
Definitely, it was great. I think I'll have to talk to my producer if I have you on again. I think I want to go for 2 hours. I just cut it short. But
okay, it's fun when you it's like time goes by very quick.
Yeah, when you're having fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so if this has been a blessing, go on to lilytangwilliams.com and please join me for the next time at Frankly Speaking. Thank you very much. Bye.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.